Hello guys, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi, long time no see. Well, get ready for our last partial. We've had one class already about the generalities of Mexican society and the topics that we're gonna be seeing during this partial. And well, today I wanna start off by saying hi to everybody and welcome to the class. Good afternoon, Yolanda, Andrea, Julie, Regina. Hello, hello. Any gentleman is present? I don't see anybody from the weak sex. Hello. So let's see, let's try our, let me know if you have any difficulties, let me know. Is my audio on? How's the quarantine going, guys? Good afternoon, Oscar. Finally, a gentleman. So before starting, I want to see if you guys are listening to me, or am I just speaking to God here? Let's see. Trying my audio. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Yes? Okay, perfect. Hi, Leslie. All right, guys. So first of all, we're going to start with the announcements. And I have here my Moodle platform open. And so this is your third partial. I had titled it Topics in Mexican Society. There's already one live about our first class, and today I'm going to upload today's class so that you can be watching the replay as many times as you want, or if you missed one of the classes, that you can have access to it. Okay, so I want to point out two things, and so that you are totally synced with me. All right. First of all, there is a forum already up, and it's about poverty in Mexico. So what am I supposed to be receiving? I have said the first class that most of the activities, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, due to the topic itself, that is all these information about Mexican society, Mexican problems, issues, poverty. Basically, all the organisms that throw out these statistical data that is more concrete and more detailed are logically from this country, and we speak Spanish. So a lot of the things that I'm going to make you read are going to be in Spanish. I am going to try to make the effort of explaining everything in English, although our activities, especially those that require reading and writing, are going to be in Spanish. Okay, why? Because it's more difficult for you to read in one language and then answer in another from the same article. Okay, so any activity, if we started in Spanish, we finish it in Spanish. If we started in English, we finish it in English. Okay, so the first thing is the forum. That one is in Spanish. The reading is in Spanish, and it's about poverty in Mexico. Okay, so I give you a link. You just have to click on it, and it takes you to an article that is a critique about how poverty is not only about a statistical data or bad decisions of the government impacting on society, but also it has created a culture, the culture of poverty. That's more dangerous because as we're going to see today in the class, if we have only a statistical data, well, it's just a matter of reverting that statistical data. But on the other side, if we have these cultural values or anti-values, these cultural patterns, people are very resistant to change, and it's not so easy to eradicate poverty when you talk about it if it was a culture and not only a situation. Okay, so those there, you're gonna find 6 questions and you're gonna answer in a manner of forum, all right, so that I can check it and revise it and I can feed you back on that. Now, this is very important for you to be very, very mature and very sophisticated, okay, in what you're gonna read. I add one of the quotes, or in other words, in the article, they mention, like if you take a look at question number 3, we mentioned this author, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who makes this critique to the poverty of Latin America. Okay, you're gonna find many authors that are very critical: Octavio Paz, Carlos Fuentes, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and other many more that are more recent, and they're gonna be very, very rough. They're very strong on their declarations. I don't want you to get offended. Okay, they're talking about all Latin American. They're not only talking about Mexico. So please be mature when you start reading that, all right? And then I have already uploaded your final project, okay? I want you to do a magazine. You're gonna get into teams. This is the perfect assignment, and I have designed it especially for these times of quarantine where everybody is in their houses, but I want you to make teams, okay? I want you to make teams, to form them up, and to go and distribute your roles. I have uploaded these. Let me give you the checklist, okay? I want you now to look at the checklist. It's in the project. That's your final project. Now that's due on June 11th, but still I want you to be mentalizing yourselves and preparing psychologically for the end of the semester, all right? So let me show you the checklist for all the things that your project needs to have, okay? Do not be scared. Everything is gonna work perfectly. I'm gonna walk you through it. Let me see, magazine, quién sabe qué. Well, let me open it from here because I can't find it. Okay, open magazine checklist. Here we go. Okay, so here you're looking at your checklist, Economics Magazine for Mexico. You are going to have the chance to form teams, and you can have up to 5 participants, okay? So I am assigning a role to each participant. What necessarily you need to have is, well, before that, like recommendation 0 or indication 0, it's not a recommendation. This is going to be like this. You have to work in teams, okay? Nobody is allowed to work by himself or herself, okay? So no matter how much you beg, no matter how much you insist, you're going to end up working in teams. So I'm assigning a role so that everybody in the team has something to do specifically and explicitly. Okay, so participant number 1, you're the editor. It's like the captain of the team. You're in charge of coordinating, assigning articles, and select topics. You receive all articles and images, and you are in charge of putting it into a Canva template for magazines. You go into www.canva.com, you choose the template for magazines, and it's gonna give you a whole array and diversity of templates that are very nice, and you can modify it, add them, or erase a lot of the elements so that it can match your expectations and the style that you wanna imprint in your magazine. So you must put everything to look attractive, revise grammar. I mean, that is going to put you in charge of reading everything so that you can revise it. And once it makes it to the cover or it makes it to the inside of the magazine, well, that is something of quality, okay? Add other elements. You are in charge of the design of the magazine, okay? And you're gonna be graded on creativity, prettiness, and credibility, all right? Then there's another participant, many more. You can have 2, 3, 4, or 5 and you're in charge of these sections. One of them is going to be assigned for corruption in Mexico. Another one is that for the economic crisis after COVID-19, there are a lot of videos, a lot of information that has been going on and around, and you can find plenty of statistics and forecasts or like guesses, smart guesses of how the situation is going to be when we recuperate from economics and after this quarantine is over, okay? What's going to happen with little and medium businesses, what's going to happen with transnational companies. And then we have another participant that is in charge of indigenous discrimination in Mexico. Although we praise liberty and freedom and equality for everybody, well, the truth is that here in Latin America, and more particularly speaking of Mexico, we still have one sector of society that is very, very neglected, which is the indigenous tribes, the indigenous people, okay? Although the president is trying to build the Mayan train and you're gonna reactivate economy with tourism at its center, well, the reality is that we only want them to be like a nice show for us, like going to the Cirque du Soleil, but we don't really appreciate, well, most of the people do not really appreciate the richness, the wealth, the cultural value of these indigenous tribes all over Mexico, okay, especially in one specific region, some specific regions throughout the country, throughout the territory. And finally, the last one, this one is optional, like if you don't get to have 5 participants in your team, you can take this section out, which is you're in search of comedy, okay? I really like sarcasm, I really like irony, so I'm asking you to put together a section. Now, remember, each of these tasks are section builders. It's not that you're only going to do one article, but you can do an interview, then an article, a book presentation. I mean, you can have a very extended report. You can have a scientific article. You can have a research investigation. You can have many types of writings, an essay, a column, opinion column, okay, inside your section. So you're in charge of the section on corruption in Mexico, but your section has to be made of many other, like not only one thing, not only one article, that's what I mean, okay? The last one is in charge of the comedy. Now, comics, satires, jokes, riddles, all of that goes into kind of like an entertainment section. You can also include here, another classroom asked me, and they were like, can we include movies, like recommended movies that are talking about our topic? Well, yeah, I think that's okay. As long as it's included under the category of entertainment, like comedy or comics or movies or book presentations, that's fine with me, okay? But the thing is that all the sections and who is in charge of making all the sections very, very equal in content and in length, well, the editor. So if you turn in, one of your classmates turns in your same magazine team, something that is very extent, well, maybe you are gonna need to cut it a little and leave something out because all the sections have to be in the same, they kind of have to be equal, all right? So for that, you're gonna have this score table. You have the category or the concept under which I'm gonna grade you, creativity and good taste, grammar and cohesion of contents. That is not plagiarized, that your information is not plagiarized. That means that you need to paraphrase all the things that you're gonna publish and you're gonna synthesize. Citations, and that it includes statistics or charts, pictures and images. It's a nice magazine, so you wanna make it attractive for people that are reading it. In this case, you wanna make it attractive to me. Okay, all sections of the magazine that are complete. You see, I'm just pointing out that the last section about comedy doesn't have to be obligatory, all right? If you have 5 participants, it's obligatory. If you only have 4 participants in your team, because I'm kind of guessing that not all teams are gonna be out of made out of 5 people, so you can leave that one out. But if you want to make them all, even if you don't have all the participants, that's okay with me. Now, I'm assigning you as a turning date June 11th, okay? June 11th, so you can write it in your planner already. And I'm sorry I had my face on it. Okay? So out of the opinion forum and the final project that is not due until 3 more weeks, but I still want to give it to you. Do you have any questions? Hold on a second. Niñas bonitas, ¿pueden ir al comedor en un lugar cerrado para no hacer ruido? Pueden ir a un lugar cerrado. Es que hacen ruido, estoy transmitiendo. Ajá. Para que estén bajo puerta. Okay. So, where were we? Okay, let me see your questions. Hi, everybody. I see a lot of you here. Diane can't enter because she's at Walmart. What do you mean she's at Walmart? She's like, where? Where is she? Why can't she enter? Tell her that she can watch the replay, so don't worry about it. It can be of 4. I just explained that if you have 5 members in your team, you are asked obligatorily to do all the parts of your project. If you only have 4 people in your team, you may want to leave out the comedy part, okay? That's the one that you can leave out, all right? June 11th, it's correct, Oscar, June 11th. June 11th would be the last day that I'm receiving things, okay? Any more questions about the activities? We have a very, very interesting topic, depressing but interesting topic for today. Personally, I really like it, and let me put that away, and let me change to our topic, okay? So as I told you before, we're gonna have this issue about the articles and everything in the language. So I'm gonna do my best, all right? There. I'm gonna do my best, guys, to be translating and having the 2 languages on for you. So let's see. And as you know, in every single moment that you have any question, you can go ahead and ask it, okay? So this partial, we're gonna be talking about these topics about Mexican society. Last time we examined the structural population composition and how it affects a lot the economy, what age is each segment of the population, and all the parameters by which we measure economics, and by like these characteristics are going to give us a lot of data, a lot of information for analysis in the future, okay? So the first topic, the first issue in Mexican society, as you have already seen and we talked about last time, is poverty, okay? Poverty is defined by being the lack of inputs and conditions to cover your basic needs. Let me repeat myself, the lack, okay? I'm just translating here. The lack of inputs and conditions to cover your basic necessities. What necessities? Physical and psychological, okay? In a very, in compliance with your human dignity and in a satisfactory manner. Okay, so we're talking about quality of life, we're talking about human dignity, we're talking about all the declarations of the human rights by the United Nations, and how we have the right for life, how we have the right to express ourselves, how we have the right to choose our profession, of a family, to go here and there, of transit, of learning whatever thing that we want to learn, etc. Okay, the basic needs, the basic rights, physiological and psychological. Now, even though money is not the most important thing on the planet, you must agree with me that it's the medium, it's the instrument by which we acquire many of these basic needs. So poverty is very directly related to the salary of the income that a population receives, okay? So basically, we're gonna see that Mexico has many characteristics of its poverty, okay? We're gonna be going back and forth to these pages. That's why I want you to be very, very, like realizing all these things and following me, because the information is all scattered everywhere and we are making an effort of putting it together, okay? For our purposes of this class. So what's like the organism in Mexico that may actually measure poverty? Well, we have this thing that is called Coneval, okay? Coneval es la Comisión Nacional de Evaluación para la Pobreza, and every year they make this very nice report. We're gonna pretend our authorities tell us the truth and we're gonna believe that, okay? So this one, I really like it. It's very, very important for you to be familiarized with this chart. And what is it saying? What is it expressing? Many, many things. First of all, let me put it in a nice way. There. Okay. So here we have this little chart, this little graph, and as you can already foresee and you can already guess, poverty in Mexico is multi-dimensional. That means that there's no one factor that makes people poor. Okay? We can measure poverty by economic indicators, for example, income. But if I raise all incomes, doesn't mean that everybody just stop being poor, because there probably is a whole range of variety of reasons why people are poor. That's the only thing this is saying. Poverty in Mexico is multidimensional. We have many inputs for this equation. One of the most important ones is the income. And here you have it in yellow. Okay, you may want to replicate this chart in your notebook and make an effort of translating this. Okay, now another thing is the retardation in educational matters. That means there's a lag in educational issues. Although you may be, well, normal kids are in 4th grade of elementary school. Maybe if you compare our 4th graders in Mexico in elementary school with 4th graders in Japan or in South Korea or in Canada or in Finland, then we're gonna have a lag. A lag is like a gap, but going backwards. There's a distance in the contents that we learn, in the abilities, the skills that we develop, and the knowledge that we are encountered with. Okay, so there is a lag in educational issues. That's another thing that is measured and gives you, as a result, poverty. So poverty is put in economic terms, like income, dollar, Mexican pesos, or in educational levels. Right? If you compare all 4th graders of all Latin American countries, maybe Mexico is not at the top of its game. It's true, you have many private schools that are at the top of their game, but it's not a general thing. In the population pyramid last time that we talked about it, and we saw that Mexico has a population of 128 million people. Now, it is very, very depressing that 46% or 51%, I don't remember exactly what percentage, now we're gonna see it, is living under the poverty line. So that means that 128, that's basically like 60 something million people are living not in good conditions inside the Mexican borders. And that is a lot of people. That's the majority of people. So even though you have a lot of the richest people here in Mexico, if you average it out, if you kind of like get the mean, statistically speaking, then you are left with something very, very low. It's like, let's say an example in your classroom. Even though you have probably like 2 or 3 people that are very, very smart and they get 10 straight 10s, straight A's in every single subject that you throw at them, if like 10 people in your classroom, that represents half of the classroom, 10 or 12 people just fail like, but dramatically failing. We're talking about a 4.2, a 3.2, a 1, maybe somebody got a 0.0. Okay, if you average it out, then you're gonna have a very, very low average. Okay, that's what we mean. Even though we have some of the richest people in the world, we also have a lot of people, the chunk of people that are still living under deplorable conditions. Okay. Then what's the other one here? Third factor is the access to health, to the health services. And we're seeing it right now with the COVID situation, how all the clinics from the Instituto Mexicano de Seguridad Social have been just full and booked up, and I mean, it collapsed. Okay, the health system has collapsed. We don't have enough beds, we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough medicine, we don't have enough clinics, we don't have enough anything. So even though you make your Social Security universal for everybody, the reality is that it's not universal. Just by law, things do not become. Okay, nominally, you have the right to go into a clinic of the Social Security and be attended. However, in reality, in real terms, you may be just holding your VI for like 24 hours before they perform a surgery that is urgent on you. Okay, so that's exactly what it means, the access to health services. Now, if you're not working properly at a legal association or an enterprise, a business that has these issues in law and under the law and in legal terms, then a lot of people that are hired and are actually working, they're not perceiving any Social Security membership. Okay? And you know that because sometimes your parents are forced to do that. It's very, very expensive to maintain a lot of employees and give them Social Security and all the benefits that the law states. So by making something a law doesn't mean that it's making it real, all right? So one thing is what the paper says, and another thing is what we have in the situation, the real situation in Mexico. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth dimension is, one is, 3 and 4 are very related. One is the access to health services, and the other one is the access to Social Security. Social Security, I just explained, and health services, what would be the ISSSTE or all the alternatives that were created, right? That were created for people that did not have IMSS. The fifth factor is equality in the spaces of, in your living spaces. It is not a mystery, it is not unknown that if we just drive with any car to the peripheral area of the city, we're gonna find people that are living at very deplorable conditions. That means maybe they have only one room in their homes well, can't even call them homes. They have one room, and that room is the kitchen, is the living room, is the dining room, is the bedroom, is everything. So just imagine how awful this environment is created by these deplorable quality conditions in your living spaces. Okay, people know you can't even call that a house. It's a structure made of wood, made of garbage, made of newspaper, made of cardboard, and well, that talks to you about that they don't have the services, enough services to be considered a quality of life decent for any human being. Then the sixth one is the access to basic services. As we just mentioned, this is very related to the one before, but it goes a little bit farther. You can have a house, but if it doesn't carry water, if it doesn't have this sewage system that takes away all the residuals from human life, then you're talking about very, very anti-hygienic conditions that bring a whole range of sicknesses and illnesses and viruses and bacteria, and well, you're more exposed to illnesses, to infections, for diseases, and your quality of life also diminishes and collapses. Second to last, access to nutritional factors. A lot of people in Mexico are not receiving enough nutrients. We are like number one in Latin America for obesity, but that does not mean that we are well nurtured. You may be high in your weight and still be malnourished. And this year, I noticed that from last year that I taught this subject, they added one more factor. They added the cohesion, the social cohesion factor. That means that the society has equal values, equal principles, or equally enough. I mean, we know diversity is a phenomena that we have to learn how to live with it. But I mean, it's not the same to have a difference of opinions in the political party you vote on in next elections and to have a civil war, okay? There's a lot of difference between one extreme and the equilibrium. Alrighty, so these are the 8 factors that the Coneval uses to measure economic development or to measure poverty here in Mexico. Okay, I want to examine number 1, which is the income. Okay, that's very important, is very significant, and we have some information on that. Okay, whatever it is, I'm going to upload this presentation to your Moodle, so don't worry if you didn't get everything in your notes. We're going to repeat it, okay? Okay, so first of all, let's talk about in terms of US dollars. Everything is going to be in terms of US dollars, okay? So let me place myself over here. And let's examine this. This article recognizes 5 types of poverty, okay? We have seen the dimensions of poverty is factorially multidimensional, but also we recognize 5 types by the Coneval. The same institution is giving us that we can classify this poverty into 5, okay? Into 5 things. Out of all the people that are poor, out of all that 50-something% of the population, of the 128 million people that we are living within the Mexican territories and borders, we can classify those, however many, 60 million people, into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, who are we leaving out of this classification? Well, the people that are not poor. This classification is only applied to the people that fall under the category of living under the poverty line according to the United Nations International Monetary Fund and blah, 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 and so on and so forth, okay? So the first type of poverty is the moderate poverty, moderate. that states that we have this population living with less than 20 US dollars per day. Let's take the exchange rate from before the quarantine and before everything just went to hell. And we can have that $20, 20 times 20 is 400, okay? 400 pesos approximately, okay? Just to round numbers up. And well, 400 pesos daily, that means for food, for transportation, for whatever you're wearing, for all the needs that you're gonna have. Well, it's not that bad. It's kind of like you're barely making it, because remember, you also have to pay rent. Do not think about $20 per day of a person like you. Okay, $400 if your parents give you 400 pesos per day so that you can spend it, but they're not charging you with rent, or they're not charging you for your food, or they're not charging you for your clothes, then that doesn't apply to you. That's why you're not inside this category. You're not considered poor, okay? As many as you can cry about it, you're not poor. Moderate poverty is when you live with less than $20 per day, but you have to include in that a rent, the food, not only for you. Maybe this person that is earning $20 per day is also the head of family, and they are trying to feed people, 2-3 children and a wife, with $20 per day, okay? Then we have the second category of poverty, the Coneval poverty. This is population that lives with under $10 per day. Relative poverty, $5, less than $5 per day. So we're going less and less. First one was 400 Mexican pesos. The second one is 200 pesos. The third one is 100 pesos. So that's why you don't have a house, you don't have any appliances for your home, you don't have furniture, you don't have the possibility to move to another place where there are no gangs, there are no prostitution, drugs, bad influence for your children, etc. Then we have the two next ones are very extreme. Okay, the absolute poverty is those people that live with under $2 per day. Okay, that means not even 50 pesos per day. Okay, and let me repeat myself, we're not talking about your domingo, we're not talking about your allowance weekly, we're talking about people that have to actually make a life out of their jobs. And finally, extreme poverty. Extreme poverty is people that barely make it to survive. It's 1.25 US dollars, which is probably like not even 20 pesos per day, and they have to provide, or they have to provide for a living for themselves and probably for a family with that amount of money. Okay, so you want to write in your notebook these categories and write next to it the amount of US dollars that they're supposed to be living on per day. Okay, so moderate poverty, $20, Coneval poverty, $10, relative poverty, $5 US dollars, absolute poverty, $2, and extreme poverty, $1.25. So this is basically, I want you to really, really reflect upon this reality. You are very privileged. You should never, ever dare to complain about your living. I don't really care if you are confined in your 4-bedroom house, or you are tired of watching Netflix all over again with the same series and you don't have any other service for video renting. I want you to not complain, because there are people that are killing themselves right now. They're not only tired of this situation, but they're actually dying of hunger. They're dying of depression, of anxiety. And so please do not ever complain. Do not even dare to complain about this, okay? Okay, now, right next to these categories, we wrote in our notebook moderate poverty, Coneval poverty, relative poverty, extreme poverty, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so right next to it, we wrote the amount of money that they're supposed to be making per day. And now on the side, using the same categories and the same lines, we're going to write the percentage. In terms of percentages, the people that live under that category of poverty. Okay, so out of the 100% of the Mexican population, 76.9% of people are living in moderate poverty. Okay, 45.3%, you're writing right next to the category. That represents 76.9. Now, CONEVAL poverty, 45.3%. Relative poverty, 28.2%. Absolute poverty, 13.4%. And extreme poverty, 1.8%. Okay, and where did we get this info from? From the report on the United Nations Human Development, blah, 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 the OCDE. Okay, now that we have the percentages, okay, let me repeat myself. For moderate poverty, 76.9%. For CONEVAL poverty, 45.3%. For relative poverty, 28.2%. For absolute poverty, 13.4%. And for extreme poverty, 1.8%. Those are, in terms of percentages, the 100 population, the 128 million people that we are. Now we're going to write right next to it, without writing all over again the categories, we're going to write the million people, the actual amount of people that live under these categories that we have just mentioned. So the first one, it is to cry the whole day. 87.7 million people, okay, in moderate poverty. This is before the update of this year for the CIA World Factor came out. So we are projecting that in July 2020, we're going to be 128 million people in Mexico, almost 129 million people. Now, this probably has been made under the numbers or the information that we had in 2018. Remember that statistical data takes a while until it gets updated. We can only make projections, but actual information is only released when it has been proven. Okay, so these percentages probably are going to add up 126 million people and not 128 million people as we had projected for this July. Okay, these are made very, very probable with information from 2017 or 2018, because that's the last census that we have here performed by the INEGI. All right, so let's write right next to the same categories. 87.7 million people, moderate poverty. 52.8 million people in CONEVAL poverty. 33.6 million people in relative poverty, 15.2 million people in absolute poverty, and 2.2 million people for extreme poverty. That's too many people. All right. So up to then, do you have any questions? Because I don't know why, but time flies by when you speak of something that is really interesting. Yes, of course. Oscar, pareces nuevo. Okay, guys, so do you have any questions up to right now about what we just explained? We're basically just expanding on the information, making a point. Okay, making a point, we're a really poor country. Time is up. I'm gonna leave a second because I have a delay from me recording until you guys get in the information. No, you're not going to have an exam this time. You're going to have your project. That's why I uploaded it, so that you can actually start working on it. Okay, take a look at it, glance it through, and then if you have any questions on the project, well, we're gonna meet next week. From next week on, we're gonna be meeting, I think, every single day of our class times. Already? So let me repeat myself. From next week on, we're gonna be meeting in all our class times. That means Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It is the best news that you have ever gotten today. You're gonna see me 3 days a week. Already then, if you do not have any questions, that's it for today. It's 12:45. You can go to your next class if you have one, or go eat something, okay? Bye, and see you on Monday, guys, at our class hour. Goodbye, goodbye, and say hi to your family.